Okay, so we're going to learn about angles. And in angles, we need to know that angles are measured in degrees. So angles are measured in degrees, and that one of the whole turn is 360 degrees. So if you do a full turn, it's going to be 360 degrees. So you have to be able to recognize an acute angle. That's an acute angle. You should be able to recognize what a right angle is. You should also be able to recognize what an obtuse angle is. And what a reflex angle is. So you should be able to recognize these 1, 2, 3, 4 type of angles: an acute angle, a right angle, an obtuse angle, and a reflex angle. So you should also be able to estimate, approximate, measure, draw, and compare angles. So you should be able to estimate an angle, you should be able to measure an angle, you should be able to draw an angle, and you should be able to compare angles. And so you need to know your simple angle facts. So an angle is a measure of turn. So it's a measure of turn. So it measures the turn. Angles are measured in degrees, so an angle is measured in degrees. And a full turn is 360 degrees, whilst a quarter turn is 90 degrees. So that's a right angle. So a quarter turn is 90 degrees. An angle less than 90 degrees is an acute angle. So if it's less than 90 degrees, it's an acute angle. An angle between 90 and 180, degrees is an obtuse angle. Now, an angle greater than 180 degrees, is a reflex angle. So if it's more than 180 degrees, it's a reflex angle. In the earlier one, if it's more than 90 degrees, if it's between 90 and 180 degrees, it's an obtuse angle. And in the earliest one, when we were looking at the acute angle, if it's less than 90 degrees, then it's an acute angle. Okay, so what you do is you should also know what an angle on a straight line is. So you should know what an angle on a straight line is. An angle on a straight line is, if it's a straight line and you have an angle, and if one side is, say, 120, then the other side will be 60. If one side is 110, then the other side will be 70. And the reason being because an angle on a straight line will always equal 180 degrees. An angle on a straight line will always equal 180 degrees. So angles at a point add up to 360 degrees. So if you've got a point, if you add up all the angles, if it's, for example, 3 angles, then if you add each one up, it will add up to 360 degrees. So if you've got, say for example, if you've got 70, 150 and 140, they will add up to 360 degrees. Another important point to remember is angles inside a triangle will always equal 360 degrees. So if you've got an equilateral triangle, all the angles will be the same. So each angle, all 3 angles will each be 60 degrees. They will each be 60 degrees, which means that the first one, add the second one, add the third one, they will all add up to 180 degrees. So 60 at 60, 60 at 60, plus another 60, 3 60s add up to 180 degrees. 6, 12, 18, add the 0, 180 degrees. Now, in any other triangle, let's say we have a scalene triangle. If you have one angle which is 40, another angle which is 80, and another angle which is 60, then they all add up to 180 degrees. So they all add up to 180 degrees. So one key point to remember is these angles add up in a triangle to 180 degrees. So far we've learnt about angles are measured in degrees. We've talked about angles in a full turn at 360 degrees. There's 4 types of angles: acute, right, obtuse and reflex angles, and that they are estimated, measure, draw and compare angles, and you learn about using angle facts. You learn about simple angle facts.